Greetings, friends. Greetings, friends. Today I'm gonna speak to you about a genocide, about a Holocaust, one of the most horrific crimes against humanity that were ever carried out in the 20th century. The Holocaust of Indonesian communists. The year 1965, when rivers turned red with blood, when mountains of bodies were piled up on Indonesian soil. A heinous crime against humanity was committed, and it was anti-communists that were the perpetrators, it was the communists that were the victims, the innocent victims. Because the communists had only the good of the Indonesian people at their hearts. You see, when communists get killed, the system keeps silent. You shall not hear about this crime at TV, you shall not hear about this in newspapers, you shall not hear about it in schools, in history textbooks. At least here where I live, there is complete silence, deafening silence, I should say. Because the victims, the innocent victims, were the communists. In October 1965, using the murder of 6 Indonesian generals as a pretext, the anti-communist forces launched a massive and horrific nationwide purge against communists and as well as suspected communists, i.e. communist sympathizers. It was the military, the Indonesian military, backed up by religious fundamentalists, both Islamic fundamentalists and Christian fundamentalists and Hindu fundamentalists in the island of Bali. It is estimated that from October 1965 and throughout 1966, no less than 500,000 communists were killed. Estimates as high as 2 million or 3 million were given. So I should say a reasonable estimate, the most reasonable estimate, is about 1 million communists murdered, butchered, slaughtered. Communists were often hacked with machetes, hacked to death with machetes. Others were bludgeoned to death with sledgehammers, or were decapitated. Others were strangled. After they were killed, their bodies were dumped in water, in rivers. Whole rivers became red with the blood of slain communists. Islamic fundamentalists from the Muhammadiyah group, they used to preach that killing communists is a religious duty because communists were allegedly the lowest sort of infidels. They were on a par with chicken. So shedding the blood of communists was equivalent to slaughtering chicken. That's what they said. Besides the murders, in addition to the horrific murders, a lot of people, it is estimated that 600,000 to 700,000 people were arrested. They were thrown in jail, and some were kept in jail for as long as 30 years. The children of suspected communists were often torn from their families and given to foster care. The Communist Party was outlawed and effectively destroyed. The only party in Indonesia which had the interests of working class Indonesian at their hearts was effectively destroyed. This party boasted a membership of no less than 3.5 million members. And there are also 23 million more in communist-affiliated organizations such as Peasants' Union, Workers' Union, and women's groups. The party was effectively erased from Indonesia, though not completely destroyed, because not all of them were killed. Yet, in fact, it was outlawed and effectively smashed from the scene. It was not completely destroyed, but it was effectively silenced. The voice of communism was effectively silenced. Today, support groups for the victims and the descendants of victims have identified no less than 122 mass graves containing the remains of thousands and tens of thousands of people, and yet the government, and they repeatedly called on the Indonesian government to investigate those sites, and yet the government has failed to investigate, to exhumate the remains. You should know that at least 122 mass graves bear witness to this slaughter, to this horrific slaughter, and it's all a matter of time before they will be exhumated and identified to provide comfort, at least for the descendants of the victims and their families. It should also be pointed out that the US imperialism, the US diplomatic personnel in Indonesia had full knowledge of the slaughter, and yet they kept silent. Why? Because they were in league with the perpetrators. The US officials were in league with the perpetrators because it suited them. The massacre, the wholesale massacre, suited the interests of the US imperialists. So the US imperialist is a prime accomplice in this horrific slaughter. I will observe a minute of silence in honor of these martyrs of the Indonesian people. Glory to the martyrs of the Indonesian people. The Communist Party of Indonesia shall rise again.